Dialog box, sort of a fancy word for what if I right click the mouse? Here's a dialog box. You open up any of these other features. It could be a dialog box. How do we work with all the different mixture of dialog boxes? They're incorporated within the ribbon. They're incorporated in the right click. They're incorporated into the shortcuts. Let me explain how all this works. We click this thing. Here's another opening for a dialog box. You right click this dialog box. Kind of get the idea of where we're going? Well, let me explain more about the features within the dialog box and why they're so important and a true time saver. Brad Williams, XL Prime. How to work with dialog boxes, your way to success. I use the term dialog boxes. There's navigation boxes, there's tab dialog boxes, there's task panes, but do we really need to get that definitive? The purpose of the dialog box is really a guide to get you from point A to point B. In other words, to root out or to narrow down specifics. For example, here we have a review box or a dialog box that's going to want more information from you in order to move to the next step. The format cells, this dialog box I showed earlier, is going to help guide you through formatting, format cells. Here, you may have a task pane, which is an add-in to a specific, I don't know, let's say you want to add a table, and then you want to add a picture next to the table. That'll be a task pane. So let's get into each one of these, and I'll try to explain these a little more in detail. But let's start off with this particular protect sheet. Where do we get this? Well, if we go to review, protect sheet, Excel won't be able to carry out this command until you do something with it. So let's go to review, protect, and then protect sheet. Here's the same box. What's going on here? The role of this particular document is to protect this sheet. And in order to protect the sheet, you need to complete the dialog box. What does that mean? Well, it says enter a password. You don't need to, but that's optional. You have the option as to what you want protected. This is just a form of a dialog box that requires some information from you. If you say, I don't want to protect the worksheet, just hit cancel. Otherwise, click whatever you want and you're good to go and hit OK. Cancel. Format cells. What do? We hit right click and then we hit format cells. Here's another dialog box. What's it asking? What are we trying to do? We're formatting something here. Now this is referred to as a tab dialog box. Why? Well, we have tabs, and whatever tab you click, it just opens up more options. Number, I've touched on this. If there was a number here and you wanted to make it a percentage, well, all you have to hit is percentage. So let's hit cancel, because we can't do anything once this dialog box is open. We can hit 0.05. We have options. We can go up here to the dialog box and hit number, or we hit right click, format cells, and then hit percentage. And we want 2 decimals, and here's a sample, 5%, 2 decimals, and we have 5%. If we want to change that to a currency, here we have an example. We have currency. This is what it looks like, 2 decimals, the configuration. We can put it in different currency if you want, but here we'll just, for simplicity, keep it US and hit OK. So now we have 5 cents. That's the dialog box, and a little bit back to the shortcuts. Now let's move into a different arena. Here we have Shift Tab. What am I talking about, Shift Tab? Here we have the mini toolbar. Well, we can navigate this clearly by just moving up and down, right? But we can also hit the Tab key, and it will take us down and do its thing. We can hit the Shift tab and it'll go the other direction. Let's say you don't have a mouse, or your mouse busted, or battery in your cordless mouse just went to kapooey and you don't have time to run to get another battery. You can use this tab key to move around. We're going to move away from dialog box, but we're still in the dialog. You can hit the Alt key. This is another shortcut. Believe it or not, this is one of the better shortcuts, but it's overwhelming. I'll be honest with you, I can't remember everything here. But the way it works is you hit Alt on your keyboard and you're going to get these letters. Now, sometimes when you're trying to use Alt, you're doing an Alt Shift or Alt F4 or Control Alt, you're slow. Perhaps sometimes this information will come up accidentally. Just hit Alt again and start over. So for example, if I hit Control Alt Delete, you see what happened? Just sometimes there's a conflict when you're dealing with the Alt key. Don't go crazy and go this bloody, etc., and curse word. Just remember, sometimes you're in such a hurry, you hit the Alt key before, say, the Control key. You just hit the Alt key again in reverse and then hit Control Alt. And you'll hit Control Alt occasionally, I mean quite a bit. If I want to copy something, I'm going to hit Control Alt V all the time. And sometimes I hit Alt before I hit Control, and the Alt key may kick in. Don't worry about it. But anyway, back to Alt. This is a shortcut. What does it mean? If I hit Alt H, hit the H here. If I hit Alt again, or if I hit H, now Alt H, you see what happens? This is everything within the home key. So if I need to get to bold, I can hit Alt X B and I can bold this, watch. So Alt, I'm hit H, you hit the B. Sometimes it takes practice. Alt H, then B, the bottom border, that's a border. So you can hit Alt again, Alt H. All you have to hit is Alt once. Alt H, bold is 1. You would think B would be bold, but no. And if I want to bold this active cell, hit 1. And now it's bold. Remember I said when it's bold, the bold will show up in a darker gray. This is all navigating. This is all part of the dialog box thing here. Let's move on to a task pane. What's a task pane? This picture here will demonstrate a task pane. Well, if you note, here's a list of the different tabs. All of a sudden you see in this picture, we have, well, you see help, and besides Fred, now you see this picture format. You're asking, what? Well, yeah, it's one of those task panes. That's what happens when you are dealing with Excel. You're going to get additional stuff depending on what you're doing. Let me illustrate. Go to Insert, Pictures, Stock Images. This is free images Microsoft provides. Just grab a picture. Doesn't matter what it is. We have to wait for it to load. Right now, it's just loading the pictures. Well, that took a little bit longer than it should have. You have choices here. These are just free stock images. I don't know if there's a license requirement. You'll have to dig into that. Here, let's just click this. Now it's loading. This picture will show up here. Thing is taking forever. I'm going to put this on pause while this is loading. Now here's an image. I'm right-clicking and I want to see if there's any properties here. Size and properties. What am I doing? I'm trying to see if there are limitations as to where we can use this, if we can use this in a commercial application. And that's one critical area when you're dealing with images or music or graphics. Make sure you have the right to use that information. If it's free, if there's a license, if you have to provide an acknowledgement that you're using this author's information, be clear, because if you're using this stuff and you put it out to commercial use, well, Google's going to find it and they're going to ban you. So just be careful of the information. So anyway, be sure to check out our extensive courses, which include Excel data and text manipulation for advanced users, beginners, intermediate. We also have this great essentials, the A to Z for advanced users, the comprehensive beginner level 1 and 2. Then we have our advanced formulas, strictly formulas, great set of courses, which we have a beginner level 1 and beginner level 2, this intermediate level, and we have this advanced level. Click on any of the links. There's a short video that explains everything about the course. Check it out. Here's an eagle, just something random I grabbed. And if you go up here to the icons, or the tabs, or whatever you want to call them, you're going to see Fred. Now, if I click anywhere within the picture, there's a new icon. There's a new tab. Call it whatever you want. And now you have all of the different options available. Call them options, call them commands. It's just the different tools available under this picture format. Click out of the picture format and that tab disappears. Click back on, click back off. Just trying to show you different dialogue features. Let's go back into one last one. And then here it says, I say format picture. You can see picture format, format picture, depending on what version, believe it or not. Depending on what version of Excel you're using, this could say format picture, or it could say picture format. Now, let's go back into this dialog box. I just want to just show you some more of the tab stuff. Hit right click, hit format cells, go to borders. You can move around in here using your tab key. That's all I just want to point out here. You can go to alignment. You see, I'm just hitting the tab key. You can use your mouse. If your mouse is broken or you don't use a mouse, a lot of times it's just quicker to use the keypad. If you're planning to be an Excel ninja, you will be using the keypad, and tab key works beautifully. Lastly, the dockability. When I mean dockability, if we go back and here's a shortcut, Control-1 does the same thing. You can right click or you can hit Control-1. You can move this anywhere you want. In some cases you can resize this. This one you can't resize, but some dialog boxes you can resize.
Fred Williams, XL Prime, thanks for watching.